Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh again. So I think we shall start now. We have already 76 students here. So first of all, I would like you to actually go to menti.com and use this particular code. There will be some questions that I'll be asking you, and there will be also some short pop quiz that I'm going to ask you to verify your knowledge so far. Okay, so can you just write down what have you learned um, for the past week? Actually, what still come across your mind? What are the keywords that still stuck in your mind after you have gone through my lecture, after you have gone through the video, ataupun sebenarnya you tak pergi langsung video tu? Dia satu benda kalau belajar subjek yang kita rasa susah ni, kita jangan put in our mind that this subject is difficult, and bila kita fikir banyak pasal difficult ni, dia akan menyebabkan kita memang kita jadi negatif lah. We become negative person, and kita akan rasa susah. But if you put in your mind that okay, this subject is challenging for me, but I know I can actually overcome it, then you'll be able to overcome it. Itu je sebenarnya. Okay, itu je dia, that's the recipe for you to undergo this particular tough punya, I mean you might consider this is a tough punya question, subject kan. Tapi you need to see the whole things, and then you need first of all, of course, at the same time you also need to trust the process. So once you trust the process, then insyaAllah then everything should be okay. Dia tidaklah sesusah yang disangka. Tapi sebab bila kita fikir benda ni susah, kita tendency kita untuk hit the wall. Kita benda susah, kita hit the wall and then kita give up. Okay. Why the first part ni nampak susah? Sebab I think you may not come across a lot of things, tapi this is actually the fundamental part that will bring you towards the next part, where the Anis Hatikah will be teaching you and Dr. Karunisa will be teaching you as well. And this is like macam starting point lah for you, for the whole chemical engineering punya program. Ni phrase change ni kelas bahasa Inggeris ni, bukan kat sini. Phase change betul lah kita belajar, kan? Phrase change Okay, so what you have covered last past week is phase change. You have learned about ideal gas. We have learned about saturation temperature and saturation pressure. You have discovered the new term of latent heat and phase change process. We have learned about phase diagram, okay, where you have what we call SPV diagram, PV diagram, PVT diagram, okay. We have learned about critical point. We have learned about property tables. These are very important terms lah. Property tables and calculation. Saturated liquid and vapor, superheated vapor. Okay. We also have discovered about pure substance. What make a pure substance and not a pure substance. Property diagram. Okay. Latent heat of fusion, superheated vapor. Jangan superheated pula, superheated vapor. This is supposed to be superheated vapor. Okay. Compressed liquid. Okay. Saturated liquid property diagram. Alright, so these are the things that we have learned. So let's look another things that I would like you to reflect upon. Upon doing the assignment, I realized that what do you realize actually once you start do the assignment that I have given to you? as I highlighted earlier, I have divided the due dates on the submission into two parts. The first one is you are required to send the mind map tomorrow, and then nanti selepas raya on the 17th of May, then you'll be actually submitting the next part. Okay, put your thoughts in there, and then another important thing is that I would like to highlight as well. Instead, we are not going to have a final exam for this semester, so everything is going to be CAA, okay, continuous alternative assessment, throughout this semester. So somehow you have time lah, okay, that actually to learn. I myself, I'm not favor of final exam. Okay. Need more time. Yelah, time dah bagi dah tu sampai Monday kan, Monday 17. Lama tu. I need to drink coffee a lot and study a lot. The reason being that I give when I ask you to do the mind map is not only because I want you to go through to the lecture notes, but as I mentioned earlier, my lecture is one source of your knowledge, but there are plenty of other sources of your knowledge as well. I am here to facilitate your learning, not to spoon feed you. Okay, so you realize that upon certain things that you didn't understand, you need to go through the textbooks, you need to go through and read from the internet and so on. So that is a task as a student that you have to do. Okay, because what I'm trying to give you here is actually the opportunity for you to feel that what does it take if, let's say, you're working as an engineer later. Because when you work as an engineer later, you will be given a task to solve problems, and when you are tasked to solve the problems, it is not simply just like, okay, the engineer, your boss come and give to you, okay, this is the problem and this is the resources how to solve the problem. Tak kan? Dia tak akan bagi macam tu. Dia akan kata, this is the problem, okay, I also do not know what is this problem is all about, try to figure out and solve it. And when you start to stumble upon the problems, these are the things sometimes that you have not learned before. So you need to know how to get the resources and so on. So that's the idea of, for me to give you the mind map, to ask you to do the mind map, is actually for you to start to see, okay, as a whole, actually what is this subject is all about, and for you to scaffold you somehow, scaffold you in order to make sure that you know how to get the resources. Okay, so you said creating our mind map is quite difficult because I realized that I lack of knowledge, I have much more things to study and understand, I need to put more efforts, too many chapters. Baru 3 chapter. Too many things I don't really understand, need to study a lot to be able to make the mind map. Lack of time, so too much assignment. Saya dah pecahkan submission kan, so at least you have 1 week for the mind map and you have another week for creating the questions. The more I learn, the more I start to get confused and have to check and understand. This is the good thing actually. When you start to get confused, and it's actually a process of thinking. Kalau you tak confused, kalau you rasa macam belajar ni macam smooth je, you tak confused, your brain is not functioning. Okay, but when you start to feel, I start to get confused and I need to solve this confusion, that is where actually the thinking process happen, which is fine. Okay. Right, I'm still like creating question by my own is too hard. I realize that thermo is not easy. I need to work hard. Okay, need to work hard, need to put effort is good. Alright, what else? Can I have other? Baru ada 18 orang respond. 69 more. 61 more students that is currently silent. Ataupun sebenarnya tak buat lagi assignment ni, tunggu last minute juga, malam ni juga baru fikir nak buat. Yang lain-lain? Senyap dah ni. Okay. Assignment are code for understand more. Assignment is part of learning process. Okay. So just don't just simply do the assignment because the lecturer asks you to do so. The purpose for me giving you assignment because I want you to learn. So many things to cover, of course. Alright. So let me test you with some pop quiz. Okay, I hope that you can join this. Just to recap the understanding from the previous chapter. So I hope you could join. Ada lagi nak join? Ada lagi tak join ni? Ada yang masih berdengkur ke? Okay, we have 70. Alright, so jom kita start. Answer fast to get more points. So the first question, we can only consider the mixture of liquid and gas phase as of a substance to be considered as pure substance only if the mass of both are the same, the volume of both are the same, the composition of both are the same. Both ni refer kepada liquid and gas lah. Okay, the answer is supposedly the composition of both are the same. Right? Macam contohnya air, liquid air dengan air, vapor air punya in gas phase cannot be considered if let's say they are mixed together, they cannot be considered as pure substance because liquid air has a different composition. It has more argon, okay, compared to the gas air. Maksudnya the gas phase of air. Okay, kalau gas phase of air ni kita ada nitrogen kan 78%, ada 20% oxygen. Tapi if let's say you have a liquid air, dia tak sama composition. So that's why it cannot be considered as pure substance. Tapi kalau if let's say you have water kalau dalam gas phase sama, dalam liquid phase pun composition dia tetap sama. So that is actually pure substance. Right? The next question. Kita tengok siapa yang mendahului sekarang. have JY. JY is leading. The next question. Tak ada soalan je. Sekejap soalan kedua tu tak ada. A water vapor at 100 degrees Celsius and 1 atm is further heated until 300 degrees Celsius. At this point, everything here is correct except water vapor is condensable. There's no more saturated liquid. It is called superheated vapor. Which one is not correct? Yang tak betul ialah water vapor is condensable. Okay, kena ingat bila kita, when we heat compressed liquid, for example the water, sampai 100 degrees Celsius, it will first reach what the phase we call it saturated liquid, and then we further heat at that particular temperature. Dia tak akan naik temperature mendadak lagi. Dia akan actually tukar dulu phase dia daripada saturated liquid. From saturated liquid, it is changed into saturated vapor. And then when we further heat that from 100 degrees Celsius until 300 degrees Celsius, then it becomes superheated vapor. So the answer is and when it is at the phase of superheated vapor, it is no more, there is no more saturated liquid. Everything is vapor phase, and this is what we call as superheated vapor, and it is no longer condensable. Okay, so the answer is water vapor is not supposed to be condensable. Water vapor is condensable is wrong. So this is the answer. So we still have JY leading. Okay. Next question. Given that at 120 degrees Celsius, the saturated R134A has a saturated liquid enthalpy of 154.34 and saturated vapor of 278.43. What is the latent heat of vaporization? Salah. Alright. So let me bring you back to actually the phase diagram. Okay. The phase diagram R134 is actually the refrigerant. Refrigerant. Okay. So actually when you have a phase diagram, katalah kita ada T versus V. Okay. And then kita ada, first of all kita ada compressed liquid. Sampai satu point, this is where actually it becomes saturated liquid. And then on the straight line dekat sini, dia akan jadi saturated vapor. Lepas tu barulah dia akan naik lagi ke sini. Temperature akan naik, dia jadi superheated vapor. So what happened is actually at this particular point, okay, at this particular point kita akan dapat volume dia, specific volume of what we call as for fluid lah. Okay, specific volume for fluid. And then at this particular point kita akan dapat a specific volume for gas. And we should know that specific volume for gas should be higher than specific volume for liquid. Because imagining, if let's say you have a condenser, piston kan. If you have a piston, initially kalau you ada cuma liquid saja, dia akan fill up dekat kawasan ni. Molecule of the liquid only fill up kat sini. And if let's say you further heat it up, okay, if you further heat it up, what will happen? The piston akan expand. Okay, the piston akan expand menyebabkan, okay, dia mungkin akan berpindah ke sini. Alright, and then you can see that the molecule of the gas vapor is actually bigger lah than daripada sini. This is actually representing fluid. Okay, and this is representing the specific volume of the of the gas. So the enthalpy is actually can be referred, enthalpy tak boleh dapat dekat TV diagram, but enthalpy can be obtained from the property table. Okay, so if let's say you want to look at 120 degree, okay, and 1 atmosphere, so you need to add, they were given enthalpy, dia bagi HF kat sini. HF value is 154.34. Dekat sini ialah HG, which is the enthalpy of the gas. Dia akan bagi 278.43. So when the question asks what is the latent heat of vaporization, they wanted to know what is actually the heat needed to completely transform the saturated liquid to become saturated vapor. So how do you calculate that? It is actually 278.43 minus 154.34. Okay, so latent heat of vaporization, latent heat is actually equals to Hg minus Hf. So this is also equivalent kepada Hfg. Okay, so the difference between the enthalpy yang you obtain dekat property table kat sini minus with Hf, which is 1. So this is the answer lah, 124.08. Okay, clear everyone? Next one, next question. Okay. Okay, so sekarang ni siapa yang leading? We have DCH leading at the moment. Alright. So the next question, quality X can be obtained by the following. Maksudnya quality X can be calculated by the following, except dividing the saturated vapor mass by the total mass of the saturated mixture, dividing the saturated vapor mass by the mass of saturated liquid, volume, specific volume of the mixture minus volume of saturated liquid divided by BFG. Okay, so the answer is actually the middle one. X ni apa benda? Again, kalau kita go back to the property diagram, the phase diagram. Okay, kita ada phase diagram macam ni. So this is supposed to be critical point. So let's say you have a diagram like this. Okay, and then this line, okay, as I mentioned earlier, this represent the VG, this represent VF, right? So quality ni is a measure, only the term that you measure. Just wanted to know to the, like dia panggil extend sebenarnya the liquid, the saturated liquid kat sini has become vapor. So kalau dekat sini X will actually equals to 0. Kalau dekat this particular point, X will equals to 1. Okay, X will equal to 1. So along the way kat sini, kita boleh tahu to extend, for example, like berapa banyak, what will be the quality, what will be the fraction of vapor gas. Okay, what will be the fraction of vapor that has been converted into vapor, from liquid to become vapor, and how many is still left as the liquid. So katalah at this particular point, okay, at this particular point, then we wanted to determine what will be the X value for here. Okay, we want to determine the X value. Sebab kat sini kita tahu sepanjang line ni dia ada campuran mixture of liquid and vapor. Okay, liquid and vapor, saturated liquid and vapor ada sepanjang line ni, melainkan sampai dekat titik ni there is no more saturated liquid, everything becomes saturated vapor, and when you further heat it up, then it started to become superheated vapor. Okay, so quality ni hanya valid untuk this line saja, sepanjang straight line ni. Right, so when we want to determine the quality, the equation that we can use to determine the quality is satu, the mass of the vapor in the vapor, okay, the mass of the saturated vapor divided by the mass of the saturated vapor plus with the mass of the saturated liquid. So sepatutnya this is correct lah. Okay, maksudnya ni betul. Maksudnya in order for us to determine quality, yes, this is correct. Dividing the saturated vapor mass by the mass of saturated liquid, kalau kita mg divide by mf saja, this is wrong. So siapa yang jawab ni betul lah, then you're correct. And then another option that we can do that is actually to measure the distance antara kat sini, okay, daripada point ni sampai the distance from here divided by the distance from this point to this point, okay, which is the volume of the mixture. Okay, the X ni kita boleh dapat volume of the mixture, which is the average volume, kita panggil dia average volume, the minus dengan the volume of fluid kat sini, specific saturated specific volume of saturated liquid, divided by VFG. VFG is actually the difference between, okay, VG minus VF. Yang ni sama juga dengan kita panggil VFG lah. So V average minus VF divided by VFG. So this is what is meant by this term. Okay, so siapa yang jawab ini, you are wrong based on this question lah. Okay, but these two ways is actually the way how we can calculate quality. Right, yang ni salah lah. Then who those who answer this, then you are correct. Okay, let's move on. Kita tengok siapa yang score. Okay, this is masih mendahului, followed by Magical Rhino. The next one, question. Ideal gas equation PV equals to RT is not suitable for the following region in phase diagram except, okay, if you remember my lecture notes, PV equals to RT is not suitable for the following region in phase diagram except where? So for those answer in the middle, this is the correct answer lah. Again, nak kena lukis balik ni phase diagram. Okay, so if you have a phase diagram, and then you have a compressed liquid, and then you have saturated liquid, and then you have a superheated vapor. So this is your critical point. If let's say you are using ideal gas, dia sangat tidak sesuai, it's not practical to use within region at all, because at this particular point, okay, the temperature is low, sometimes the pressure is very high, but at this particular point, this is what we call a superheated vapor. The pressure is low and the temperature is high. So the ideal gas law, ideal gas equation is only practical to be used for sufficiently high temperature, very high temperature, and low pressure. Okay, if you remember my idea, my analogy about lift, okay, macam kita masuk dalam elevator, kalau contohnya kalau mungkin 4 orang masuk elevator, you will not actually knock with each other, kita tak akan sentuh each other. Kalau habis pegang, kita pegang dengan wall of the elevator, wall of the lift. Tapi bila kita sendat lagi ramai orang masuk dalam tu, okay, which means that you are compressing it and you pressurizing it, okay, so dia dah tersentuh not only with the wall of the lift, tapi kita dah sentuh antara satu sama lain, okay, so which is pressure dia tinggi lah. Jadi pressure tinggi, ideal gas law does not suitable, because ideal gas law assume that the gas behave ideally. The gas behave ideally ni macam mana? The gas ni sama-sama molecule gas, they are not actually colliding with each other, they are just colliding with the wall of the container. Itu je. Okay, so at high temperature, at very high temperature, of course the gas is very active, then that is why actually dia akan berlanggar dengan wall of the container. Tapi kalau if let's say it's very low temperature, the vapor at very low temperature, you can start to see that actually molecule tu tak aktif. So itu pun kita tak boleh gunakan PV equals to RT to predict the property of the equation. So if you know that actually PV equals to RT ni, why it is important to be used, because kita nak predict the properties. Okay, kita nak predict the properties such as the pressure, the temperature, the volume. So that's why we use this particular equation. But this equation has its own limitation, for which it can only be used at sufficiently high temperature and low pressure. Itu je why we use PV equals to RT. Okay, next question. Tak mau gerak. Okay. Okay, JY is leading back. You're making comeback. Last question. The following information are needed to determine Z, the compressibility factor, except ini kalau siapa jawab tak betul ni memang sebenarnya tak tengok pun video tu, tak tengok lecture notes sebenarnya. Okay, nasib baik ramai betul. Okay, so there is no such thing as reduced enthalpy. Dia tak ada reduced enthalpy. The parameters, okay, kenapa kita introduce Z ni? Z ni, as mentioned earlier tadi, PV equals to RT tadi kan, ataupun PV equals to nRT tadi, is an ideal gas law equation. So ideal gas law equation ni, it is only can be used at high temperature and low pressure, right? So susahlah nak predict the real gas behavior. Okay, it's only for ideal gas sahaja. So in order for us to predict the real gas behavior, one of the ways to do that is by introducing of, kita panggil principle of corresponding factors, ataupun kita panggil compressibility factors ni lah, Z ni kita introduce Z by having equation PV equals to ZRT. Okay, PV equals to ZRT. So kalau Z ni equals to 1, maksudnya dia menghampiri ideal lah, ideal gas law lah. Akan tetapi if let's say Z is bigger than 1 or Z is lower than 1, which means that the gas is far away from ideal gas behavior. So that's why kita use Z ni to actually predict the properties of the pressure or temperature, for example, by using this because kalau kita nak determine Z ni pula, kita kena tahu calculation kita tentang reduced temperature, we need to know the reduced pressure or reduced volume. Two of this is sufficient. Lepas tu kita akan guna graph seperti dalam slide yang you boleh tengok. Dalam graph tu kita boleh predict apa Z value dia, kita masukkan balik kat sini, then we can be able to estimate the properties of PV or T, for example. Okay, R tak berubah because R is a gas constant. But this is not the only way for us to predict the real gas behavior. That's why kita ada other equation of state. Kita panggil equation of states that we can use to predict the real gas behavior. For example, like macam saya dah bagi dalam slide, just an introduction. Kita ada Peng Robinson, kita ada Swarth Reddish Kwong, kita ada apatah lagi dalam, for example, if you see the ada few names kat situ kan, that we can use in order for us to predict the property of this thing. Okay, so sekarang ni if you have start to look at all these 3 chapters yang saya dah ajar, the one that have already teach you, okay, it's actually the first 2 you are actually look back at the energy, heat and energy. And when it comes to pure substance, we try to look at estimating the properties. Why this is important? Because later you will learn about different cycle, okay, engine cycle and so on. It involve the prediction of properties and associate it with energy. Okay, so that is actually thermodynamics all about. So maksudnya you need to know about how to calculate the energy, and how to actually, in order for you to calculate the energy, you need to know the properties. You need to know what will be the temperature, pressure and so on. Okay, so how to predict the properties? We can use, for example, like PV table, PV diagram, TV diagram. We can use the property tables, for example. But at the same time, if let's say the property cannot be estimated by ideal gas law, then we start to use other equation of state, and we have to use compressibility factor and so on. So those are the things that I have taught you for the past 3 chapters lah. Okay, 3 chapters. So this week I'm going to bring you into involving some kind of energy analysis. Okay, so let me clear down this one first. Start to see siapa yang actually jawab betul. Syah answer the fastest, but actually JY has lead lah, so congratulations JY. Well done, be able to answer some of the question. I know that you have not answered all question correctly, but actually I know that you've been learning lah, so keep it up. And for everyone else, I hope that also you know that right now ada benda yang you still tak faham, you still tak boleh catch up. Go get through back, pergi balik dekat video, baca balik buku teks, make some search and find more information, create discussion among yourself. That is the way how you can learn. Okay? Alright, so we're going to move into the slide. So what we're going to learn today is actually part 4, chapter 4 is the energy analysis for a closed system. Okay, so for a closed system, so you have to remember, hari tu saya ajar dalam first week lagi, is about different type of system, right? We have open system, we have closed system, and we have isolated system. For an isolated system, there is no energy transfer, there is no heat transfer. Okay, so kita boleh kata the net heat transfer is equals to 0, because memang tak ada heat transfer, because it's just only within itself kan, kita dalam within dia punya container. Tapi kalau dalam closed system, there is no mass transfer, but there are still some heat being transferred in and out. And kalau open system pula, there are mass transfer, there are also heat transfer or energy transfer. Okay, so we have done this part. What you expected by today is actually we are going to examine the moving boundary work, or we call it PDV work, commonly encountered in reciprocating devices such as automotive engines and compressors. We're going to identify the first law of thermodynamics as a statement of the conservation of energy principle for closed fixed mass system. We're going to develop the general energy balance applied to closed system, and we are going to define the specific heat at constant volume and the specific heat at constant pressure. So these are 4 things that we're going to achieve by today. And I know that my lecture today will not finish, I think the slide will not be finished by today, so still I need to top it up with some additional videos lah. Okay, but bear with me lah, so we at least we can have you can have some new knowledge that you're going to learn today. Okay, moving boundary work ni apa dia? When actually you have a piston, okay, katalah you ada piston, and then lepas tu kita ada some kind of expansion and some kind of compression. So this is what we call as moving boundary work. Okay, so moving boundary work ni, kalau kita, if you remember when I teach about work, is actually the force multiply with the change of the distance. Okay, the force multiply with the change of the distance, FDS. And if let's say you define force is actually pressure multiply with the area, but at the same time when you put area with the distance, the change of the distance is actually the change of volume. So that's why kita akan dapat integral of the moving boundary work, okay, integral of WB is equals to PdV, which means the pressure multiply with the change of volume. So in order for us to determine what would be the work, the boundary, moving boundary work WB is actually equals to the integral from the first state to the second state of PdV. Then you got in, you're gonna express this in kilojoule process. Okay. At all the time, alright, I have also asked you, I have attached 2 pages about quasi equilibrium process. Okay, and I want you to read and I want you to put comment on that, because some of you, I know that you mentioned last time tak faham apa quasi equilibrium tu. So please read on it, please comment in the forum section about what do you understand about quasi equilibrium. So quasi equilibrium ni, again as I said, dia kalau contohnya kalau piston, moving piston ni, dia tak move in abrupt, okay, dia akan move very slow in such a way at all the time it is achieving equilibrium. So that is what it means by a quasi equilibrium process. Okay, kalau so it is remain nearly in equilibrium at all times. Kalau contohnya kita buat some change to become too abrupt, it becomes too abrupt, it become non-quasi equilibrium. So if let's say it is non-quasi equilibrium, then you're going to spend a lot of work, and the estimation kita buat, calculation kita buat ni selalunya calculation yang salah. So that's why we always assume that whenever there is a moving boundary punya process ni, we always assume this is a quasi equilibrium process, for which that everything start to move from small parts, bit by bit dia punya expansion. For example, there is an expansion, it will move slowly, and at all the time it is achieving equilibrium. So if let's say your work boundary is positive, okay, this is what we call as expansion. And if your work boundary is negative, this is what we call as compression. Kenapa kita jadi negative? Because compression is like we put external force in order for us to push it down. Okay, so that is compression. Tapi kalau expansion, it is being done by the system. So that's why work is being positive. So if you look at the diagram here, a gas does a differential amount of work, okay, as it forces the piston to move by differential amount. So maksudnya kat sini daripada awal kita ada gas. If let's say the gas is being heated, so it will start to move the piston up, okay, with a certain distance change. So this is what we call as moving boundary work. Okay, so kita ada boundary. Kenapa kita ada boundary work? Kita ada, mula-mula kita ada boundary yang macam ni, and when it start to actually expanding, kita dah tahu boundary dia dah bertukar, boundary dia dah naik atas sikit. So that is why it is a moving boundary. Okay, alright. So the area, kalau kita ada proses kat sini, again if you remember the piston, if let's say initially you have water, liquid vapor only at this particular part, okay, and then dia jadi V1. Sorry, tak tahu. Okay, dia ada V1, and then lepas tu kita contohnya when the heating occurred, for example, then it will start to expand until it reach V2. So what happened here is actually the state change from 1 until becomes state 2, and there is a smaller change happen here, assuming this is a quasi equilibrium process. Okay, so there is a small change happen slowly sampailah dia jadi item number 2. Okay, so we can determine that whatever is under the curve is called as, we can, if let's say we determine the area under the curve, this is where actually we can calculate the moving boundary work. Okay, So the area under the process curve on a PV, okay, as long as this is a PV diagram, is equal in magnitude to the work done during a quasi equilibrium expansion or compression process. So we can determine the area as the integral from 1 to 2 of PdV. Okay, so if we calculate this particular area, then we'll be able to get the moving boundary work, which is represented in kilojoule. So if let's say we have different process, okay, if let's say you have a different process A, B and C, we have the different process, kita akan sampai juga kepada state number 2. So this is state number 1 and this is state number 2. Sometimes in order for us to move from state number 1 to state number 2, we can have different process, and each of the process will have a different moving boundary works. Okay, so if let's say this is a process of a straight line, very linear, then perhaps it's only 8 kilojoule. If let's say we have WC, okay, the work taken is very small lah, which is 5 kilojoule. If it, let's say, is curved like A, then it could be up to 10 kilojoule. So the boundary work done during a process, it depends on the path followed. So you have a different path, so it depends on the path itself. But at the same time, the net work done, okay, if let's say you have a state daripada 1 kepada 2, okay, B, right, and then you have from number 2, it goes back to the path A to number 1, so we call it as completing a cycle. Okay, so if you total it up, right, you will get actually, okay, if you total it up, the net transfer is equals to 0 lah. Okay, the net transfer is equals to 0. Boundary work for a constant pressure process. Okay, so right now, if let's say katalah dalam piston tu, okay, imagine a piston, the pressure dia is constant, which means that kalaulah a piston, let me draw a little bit. Okay, imagine you have a piston and then you are heating it up, especially kalau kita kata dekat saturated liquid point. Okay, if let's say this is saturated liquid and then you are actually heating it up until it is expanded. Okay, until it is expanded, and this is at isobaric process. Okay, isobaric, which means that it is a constant pressure process. So if you're referring to the PV diagram, the state change is actually from number 1 to number 2 in a straight line. Okay, so in order for you to measure what is the work, boundary work for constant pressure, is just measure the area of this particular square. So you know that this is V2 akan dapat from the PV table, V1 pun you can get from the PV table, and then this is at 60 kilopascal for example. So you multiply, you measure the area as a square or a rectangle, then you'll be able to get the work done, work of the boundary work lah. Okay, so the boundary work here is actually the integral from 1 to 2 PdV, but then your pressure is constant, so you take out your pressure, jadi P naught multiply with and then multiply with the integral of 1 to dV, and when you convert it, it becomes P naught multiply with V2 minus V1. Okay, so P naught is 60, V2 minus V1 is this value, and then you put, in order for you to determine what is the work, is actually putting the M, the mass of it. Okay, sebab apa kena letak mass? Because in order for you to determine the because sekat sini, this is only the what we call as specific volume. Okay, specific volume. Specific volume is given as centimeter cube, or actually meter cube per kilogram. Okay, so if you multiply with the mass, barulah kita akan cancel out the unit, because mass is in kilogram, this is in kilogram, barulah kita dapat this is in meter cube. Okay, volume in meter cube, and pressure, which is kilopascal for example, multiply with this, then you'll be able to get the unit in kilojoule. So you have to remember every time, if you want, you are to determine this particular area, you need to make sure that you are multiplying it with the mass. So the mass, for example, is given here 10 pound, then you have to multiply with it. Only then you'll be able to get the boundary work for a constant pressure process. Okay, let's look at the example. A frictionless piston cylinder device contains 5 kg of steam at 400 kilopascal and 200 degrees Celsius. Okay, so keyword kat sini ada 400 kilopascal and 200 degrees Celsius. Heat is now transferred to the steam until the temperature reach 250 degrees Celsius. If the piston is not attached to a shaft and its mass is constant, determine the work done by the steam during this particular process. Okay, so kita ada again, what you have to do in the first place is always start to draw first. If let's say you have a piston cylinder and then there is no shaft, maksudnya dia tak ada, you tak ada shaft apa-apa untuk for work done. This is something like this. So you ada steam of 5 kg. Okay, 5 kg steam kat sini, and then the pressure is at 400 kilopascal. Okay, and the pressure is maintained the same, but the temperature is changing daripada 200 degrees Celsius. Okay, and now it becomes for 250 degrees Celsius. Okay, so if the piston is not attached to a shaft and its mass constant, determine the work done by the steam during this process. So the solution here, oh, kena clear. Okay, so the solution here kat sini kita ada mass of 500 kg and then kita ada pressure of 400 kilopascal. Okay, so when you start to draw the pressure PV diagram, you know that the pressure is constant, so it's just a straight line, and you know that by calculating the rectangle punya area, then you be able to get the moving boundary work. Okay, so but you need to know first what would be your V1 value and what would be your V2 punya value. Okay, V1 value and V2 punya value. Agak-agak kat mana kita boleh dapat property V1 and V2 ni? Anybody have idea? Boleh komen dekat chat section. Kat mana kita boleh determine what is the V1 and V2 value? Anybody have idea? Daripada mana kita boleh dapat V1 and V2 punya value? No idea. Kita boleh dapat daripada property table lah. Okay, property table yang saya bagi itu. So first of all, kita kena state assumption kita. The first of all, the expansion process is quasi-equilibrium. Kalau kita cakap kat sini, analysis kita, even though it is not explicitly stated, the pressure of the steam within the cylinder remains constant during this process, since both the atmospheric pressure and the weight of the piston remain constant. Therefore, this is a constant pressure process, and therefore you'll be able to see that you can use this particular equation. The moving boundary work is equals to the integral between 1 to 2 P dV, and you know that P is constant, you take it out P. Okay, integral from 1 to 2 dV, so it's equals to P naught multiplied with V2 minus V1. Then you put mass here, and then you'll be able to calculate the moving boundary work. So since V equals to mV for the superheated vapor table, okay, because right now macam mana kita nak tahu dia superheated ataupun tak? The thing is, you need to see the at 400 kPa 200 degrees Celsius and 400 kPa 250 degrees Celsius. Okay, so 400 kPa ni is roughly about 4 bar, 4 bar lah. then you be able to see from the table. Okay, sebab dia, kenapa dia superheated, sebab dia dah, kalau kita tengok dekat apa, property table, let me bring you back to property table. Cari property table, hari tu saya share. Oh, dekat download. Property, tak jumpa pula. Let me check first. Okay. Right. So kalau kita tengok, actually when they give you at 400 400 kPa 400 kPa, ni bukan diagram sebenar. Ataupun saya tak share lagi. Oh, okay. Saya cuma bagi sampai tak, saya bagi dah. Let me check again. So kalau kita tengok property table dekat 400 kPa, okay, so it's already turned out to be it's actually turned out to already to be superheated vapor. Okay, superheated vapor. This is temperature, superheated vapor. So 400 kPa is equals to 0.4. Okay. Okay, 0.4. So kalau if you know that at 200 degrees Celsius, okay, harapnya boleh nampak try to zoom. So if you go to table A6, superheated water, and then you go to the section where actually pressure is equals to 0.4 megapascal. This is 400 kPa lah. Okay, so the saturated the temperature at 200 degrees Celsius, it will give you a volume of 0.4708. At 250 degrees Celsius, it will give you 0.5342. Okay, so this is where actually you got your volume. And then bila kita key in balik dalam part ni, alright, so you minus this and then you be able to get multiply with 5, then this is where actually you be able to get your boundary work. Okay, so the positive sign indicates that the work is done by the system, that is the steam used 122 kilojoule of its energy to do this work. Okay, so in order for you to determine V1 and V2, the only way is actually you need to determine it from the property table, and you have to check. For example, right now dekat higher pressure and now the temperature is quite high for the water vapor, it's no longer at saturated liquid and saturated vapor point, it's actually reaching superheated vapor. So superheated vapor, then you kena pergi table A6. Okay, table A6 baru kita dapat some value kat situ. Okay, how about if let's say kita ada constant volume pula? Tadi kita ada constant pressure. Okay, constant pressure, which means that constant pressure dia as a fixed pressure, atau there is a fixed pressure but there could also be changing temperature, ataupun there is a fixed pressure and there could be a fixed temperature, tapi because of the changing of vapor of phase daripada liquid kepada vapor, so we can use boundary work for constant pressure process. Now there is a constant volume process. Okay, so what is the boundary work for a constant volume process? What will happen? It will look like this. If let's say you have a system, kita ada air, and the air is being heated up. Temperature is moving daripada 65 degrees Celsius kepada 150 degrees Celsius, and the pressure is moving from 400 to 500 kilopascal. So when you translate into PV diagram, okay, you start to notice that the pressure is actually, pressure awal, dia kat sini dia actually cooling, dia panggil cooling. Pressure daripada 500 kPa jadi 400, temperature 1 daripada 150 jadi 65. So when you try to put it up dalam PV diagram, it will become like this. The state number 1 at 500 kilopascal, the state number 2 at 400 kilopascal, and it goes down like this. Kalau you nampak sebenarnya the item macam ni, what you can conclude? What is the area under the curve? What is the area under the curve? Agak-agak apa? Tanpa perlu mengira, what will be the area under the curve? If let's say you have a constant volume process, okay, volume tak tukar, volume is not changing, only the pressure and temperature is changing. Okay, Fitrah, you're correct. Supposedly the work boundary is equals to 0. Kenapa dia jadi 0? Kenapa dia jadi 0? Sebabnya there is no work being done, or work done by the system, or work done onto the system. If you remember dalam first lecture saya, I told you in a way that heat transfer happen naturally, kan? Heat transfer ni ialah proses where actually you transfer the energy daripada high temperature towards low temperature. So what is happening right now, high temperature is transferred, the heat is transferred out, okay, within this container, the heat transferred out, and then suddenly the pressure and the temperature will drop to pressure 2 and temperature 2. So that is where actually there is no work done by the system, or there is no work done onto the system. So immediately the boundary work is equals to 0. So for example, like if you can look at the example here, a rigid tank contains there is a keyword kat sini, rigid. A rigid tank contains air at 500 kilopascal and 150 degrees Celsius. As a result of heat transfer to the surroundings, the temperature and pressure inside the tank drop to 65 degrees Celsius and 400 kPa respectively. So determine the boundary work done during this particular process. So bila you nampak gambar macam ni je, memang immediately sah lah, the work done is actually equals to 0. Okay, because kenapa dalam part ni kita panggil 0? This is expected since a rigid tank has a constant volume and dV is equals to 0, which means that there is no change of volume because it is a rigid tank. And again, if you remember, the moving boundary work can only be calculated by P multiplied with the delta V. So when delta V is equals to 0, then work done is equals to 0. Okay. Alright, let's take a break for a while. Kita ambil masa dalam 3 minit break, and then I will continue balik. Okay. Okay lah, celik-celikkan mata, basuh muka ke apa ke yang patut. Nak suruh minum air pun tak boleh kan. But some of you, if you want to drink water, go on. I will continue back by 12:13. Okay, shall we continue back? Alright. Tadi kita dah tengok dekat constant pressure, and we also have looked at constant volume. I think it's relatively a bit easy because constant pressure is actually just the area under the curve is like the measuring the rectangle area, and if let's say it is a constant volume, we call it isochoric process. Okay, there is no change of volume because it's a rigid tank, for example. So because delta V is equal to 0, then the work done, the boundary work is equal to 0. Right now, okay, let's have a look at compression process. Compression for which isothermal process happen. Isothermal process, the temperature tak berubah, tapi there is a change of pressure as well as there is change of volume. So imagine that if let's say you have a cylinder dekat sini. Okay, if you have cylinder, piston cylinder, and then you are compressing it, kita tolak ke dalam, kita tolak it ke bawah. So the temperature is constant, but you know that the volume is changing, the pressure will also changing. So the more that you compress, then the pressure will be bigger lah. Okay, the pressure will be bigger. So how do we define that, express the moving boundary work here? So the moving boundary work, kalau kita tengok PV diagram, okay, it's katalah kita start the V1 at 0.4 at state 1, and when we compress, the state 2 is actually at 0.1, and the temperature is constant, which is at 80 degrees Celsius. So how do you express this? It's actually okay. How do you express this? We use the equation moving boundary work WB is equals to the integral of 1 to 2 of P dV, and kita dekat sini integral of 1 to 2 kita introduce the term C kat sini, C over V. Okay, kenapa ada C over V tadi? Kat mana C ni datang? If you remember, okay, dalam equation ideal gas equation, PV is equals to nRT, kan? PV is equals to nRT, and then dalam term ni you can actually and you know that perkadaran dia, even the temperature is actually constant, there will be some changes here. There will be also related to pressure lah. So maksudnya pressure you akan dapat the term is equals to C over V. Okay, so because PV equals to MRT, MRT node ni kita gantikan dengan constant C. So when you want to calculate balik P, you want to put P is actually equals to C over V. C over V. And you have to remember what is actually C. C is MRT. Okay, so C ni tadi is this one lah, the term MRT node. Okay, and then when you substitute C, then when you want to substitute P, so you actually take C over V kat sini. So C over V samalah juga dengan CV negative 1 kat sini lah. Okay, and when you integrate this particular term, you get PV, okay, PV ln V2 over V1, PV ln V2 over V1. Okay, so if you look back kat bawah kat sini, the moving boundary work is integral 1 to P dV equals to C over V dV 1 to 2. Take out C, and then you have dV over V. You akan dapat C is ln V2 over V1. Okay, tapi at the same time we know that C ni apa. Okay, and then you be able to substitute is equals to P1 V1 ln V2 over V1. So this is actually the integral parts of if let's say you have a compression process for isothermal. Right, so let's have a look at the example. A piston cylinder device initially contains 0.4 meter cube of air at 100 kilopascal and 80 degrees Celsius. The air is now compressed to 0.1 meter cube. Okay, air air is compressed to 0.1 meter cube in such a way that the temperature inside the cylinder remains constant. So the temperature is constant. Determine the work done during the process. So again, the diagram is like this, and this is where actually when you sketch PV diagram, you have 0.4 to 0.1. State number 1 is being compressed to state number 2, and you have a constant temperature. So the assumption that we need to put, first of all, the compression process is a quasi-equilibrium. So it happens slowly. The compression happens slowly in such a way it is maintaining nearly the equilibrium at all time. At specified condition, air can be considered to be an ideal gas since it is a high temperature and low pressure relative to its critical point values. So the analysis for an ideal gas at constant temperature T0, PV is equals to MR T0 equals to C, or P equals to C over V. So kalau kita ambil C, is actually C is equals to PV lah kan. Okay. So where C is a constant, substituting this into a boundary work equation, we therefore have this particular equation. Okay. Kita ada C tarik keluar tadi. Okay, integral of dV over V equals to C ln V2 over V1. So we replace balik C tadi with the P1 V1. So P1 V1 ln V2 over V1. So P1 V1 can be replaced by P2 V2 or MRT node. Also V2 over V1 can be replaced by P2 over P1 for this case, since P1 V1 is equals to P2 V2. Sebab apa P1 V1 equals to P2 V2? Because the temperature is constant. Okay. Substituting the numerical value yields. So here you substituting the value here. Pressure is 100 kilopascal. Volume V1 is 0.4, and then you have volume 2 which is 0.1, and then you have V2 is 0.4, and then multiply with the change of unit, so you'll be able to get negative 55.5 kilojoule. So negative means that the work done into the system, not work done by the system. Okay, because this is a compression, the work done into the system, so you get negative value kat sini. So the moving boundary work is negative 55.5 kilojoule. Right? Okay. Another things that could be done, actually the boundary work that we could determine is actually for polytropic process. So polytropic ni apa sebenarnya? Polytropic ni is actually there is a multiple change that happen. For example, like there is because there is a change of pressure, there is a change of volume together. Contohnya kan, maksudnya dia bukan something yang what do you call that? Dia ada many things happen, many parameters are changing when the expansion or compression is done. So during expansion and compression, PV are often related by PV to power of n equals to C. So sekarang ni kalau kita substitute n is equals to 0, okay, so actually what happen is there is a constant pressure process. Okay, the constant pressure process. So when n equals to 0, so V is equals to 1 kan. So constant pressure process. If it a constant volume process, it is n infinity. Okay, n is infinity, so that's why work done tadi kita calculate equals to 0. Okay, if it an isothermal macam kita calculate tadi, n is equals to 1. Okay, if it is an adiabatic and ideal gas, kita kena guna term K, which is equals to Cp over specific heat at constant pressure divided by specific heat at constant volume. Nah, apalah tukar-tukar. Okay, and then the value of n for negative infinity or plus infinity depending on the process lah. So maksudnya kalau dia work done by the system ke, the work done on the system ke. Sorry dia berubah, saya tak tahu siapa cursor ni. Okay, so that is actually polytropic process. Polytropic process ni is something that is keep, maksudnya at one time there is many things the compression and expansion tu is not of macam tadi kita calculate untuk constant pressure, constant volume, senang kan, constant temperature. Tapi because for example like if let's say adiabatic for example, there is other parameters are changing as well. So this is why actually we call it a polytropic process. So for example kalau kat sini kita ada piston cylinder again. and kita ada gas, okay, and then we say this is a polytropic process. Straight away we know that we're going to use this equation, PV to power of n. PV to power of n and equals to C equals to constant. So for this particular process, for example here, we can have a pressure changing from P1 to P2, and we also have V1 is changing to V2. Okay, so maksudnya ada banyak perubahan berlaku kat sini. Satu, pressure is changing, at the same time volume is changing. So we use this equation, P1 V1n is equals to P2 V2n, and PV to power of n is actually equals to constant. So when we want to determine the boundary work for polytropic process, again we introduce WB is equals to integral of 1 to P dV, and now, okay, instead of using P tadi ni, kita substitute dengan kita tahu that actually P is equals to PVN is equals to C, constant. PVN is equals to constant. So PV to power of n is equals to constant. So we want to put pressure kat sini, kita substitute pressure is equals to constant over V to the power of n. So this is what actually kita substitute dalam ni. Okay, so and then bila kita ubah balik, dia jadi CV to power of negative n lah, dV. And then when we integrate this, kita akan dapat this particular term. Okay, C multiply with V2 to power of negative n plus 1 minus V1 negative n plus 1 divided by negative n plus 1. And finally, when we simplify further, we'll be able to get P2 V2, okay, minus P1 V1, and then divided by 1 minus n. Macam mana kita boleh dapat yang ni? Sebab kita dah multiply balik C ke masuk sini, and we know that C ni is equals to PVN constant, so kita boleh masukkan value kat sini. Okay, so once we know the pressure and the volume and what is the degree of n, then we'll be able to get the moving boundary work for polytropic process. Alright, so this is the same thing as I showed earlier. So if let's say you have a C tadi to power of ni, and then you'll be able to get the final term kat sini. Okay, for an ideal gas, PV equals to MRT, this equation can also be written as WB equals to MR T2 minus T1 divided by 1 minus N, and N should not be equals to 1 for ideal gas. So for special case of N equals to 1, the boundary work becomes like this lah. WB equals to MRT ln V2 over V1. So this is what we call as isothermal punya process. Okay, so let's have a look at some example. This would be my last slide, last example we work on, and after that I think the last part I'll be recording it into a video lah. Okay, so during some actual expansion and compression process in piston cylinder devices, the gases have been observed to satisfy the relationship PV to the power of n equals to C, where n and C are constants. Calculate the work done when a gas expands from 350 kilopascal and 0.03 meter cube to a final volume of 0.2 meter cube for the case of n is equals to 1.5. So what's supposed to be done? First of all is we need to state the assumption. The assumption is the process is quasi-equilibrium. Okay, and the boundary work for this polytropic process can be determined directly from, okay, P2 over P1. Kalau kita susun balik, is actually N2 to power 1 of 1.5 lah. So when we substitute 350 kilopascal and then V1 and V2, and then we'll be able to get P2 value. So when we want to determine the moving boundary, okay, which is the integral from 1 to 2 P dV, then we know that when we do integrate this, we know that the equation will end up as P2 V2 minus P1 V1 divided by 1 minus N. So you substitute all the information dekat sini, okay, and then you'll be able to get 12.9 kilojoule. Okay, so this is where actually for the case of polytropic process. And the positive sign indicate that the work done is done by the system. Okay, I'm going to stop until example 4. There are also some other examples that I will discuss later. I'm going to put up in the video. But for now, there is some kind of activities that I would like you to spend for the next just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. What I want you to do is actually I want you to get into your breakout session. Okay, your breakout session. I want you to examine the whole slides daripada slide 1 sampai slide yang saya stop tadi ni. And then I would like you to put up one question that you are still not sure of. Satu question yang you rasa agak confusing, and I want you to put up in Menti later on. So first of all, I'm going to give you time about 2 minutes. Have a look at the slide that I have already given to you. Okay, go through to that slide and try to figure out actually mana benda yang sebenarnya that you feel confused on your own right now. By 12:31, I will put it up in the breakout session. I will give you until 12:35 for you to discuss one question, only one question yang you rasa macam okay, I nak tanya lecturer, saya nak tanya Dr. Tazli this particular question, and I will address back that question mungkin dalam video ataupun dalam kita punya last class nantilah. I'm not going to address it now lah. Okay, so can you do that? Have a look at the slide. Okay, I think you have gone through the slide. Now I'm going to put you up, put you into your breakout for a while, for the next 5 minutes. Lepas tu I'll call you back. So dalam breakout session tu, please discuss with your team members satu je soalan yang you rasa you nak tanya based on the slide. Okay, so now I'm going to create automatically lah. Nanti bila letak dekat Mentimeter tu, tolong tulis room mana room mana that you are from bila you want to put up the question.
macam mana?
Okay, now I would like you to actually write down the question from each room, and I will try to address this question later in the video ataupun dalam when the next time we have lecture lah, the last lecture that I will have with you. So can you please share the question? State your room, which room that you're from, and then lepas tu state the question as well. Can I have your question? Ke tak ada soalan? Tak ada soalan maksudnya faham. Diam tanda faham. Example 6 tak cover lagi, sayang oi. Saya cakap sampai part yang kita cover saja. Please write down specific sikit lah dalam question tu. Example 3 tu tentang apa dan you tak faham. Don't just simply put example 3 apa benda. So at least I know that what actually that you still thinking of what is confusing to you. You are very generic sangat. Cuba go to specific things. Kenapa saya minta you all tanya soalan? This is art of thinking. Art of thinking. Bila you start tanya soalan, then you are actually trying to figure out. You are actually confused and you want to figure out and you want to find answers. Bila the more detail that you go, which means that actually the more that you're trying to make yourself understand about the things. Kalau you go for generic, which means that you are still at shallow punya thinking lah. Okay? So try to go a bit deeper about whenever that I ask you to ask question, try to go a bit deeper. What actually that you really want to know and understand. Wanna know about boundary work for a constant. Okay, ni pun saya pun wanna know about boundary work for a constant room 5. Okay, ini agak confused. Soalan dia pun saya agak confused ni. Tak apa, it's okay. Example 3, the boundary is a bit confusing. Okay, right? About boundary work for a constant process. Okay. Example 4, how to get D. Okay. Any more questions? How to determine the boundary and make it as the analysis. How to determine the boundary and make it as the analysis. Okay, alright. Nanti saya akan address balik Example 3 to find okay W we can choose either one of the four equation. Is it group A? Okay. Example 1, how to know when should we take value from table group A? Okay. Room 3, example 3, still not understand the term polytropic. Okay, we'll address that. Room 12, how to determine the assumption that it is quasi-equilibrium. Okay. Any more question? Kita ada 18 group tadi, so kita baru dapat 11 soalan. Okay, kalau group lain tu dah tak ada respon, not giving any response, so I assume that there will be 11 question that I will try to address. Some of the questions are overlapping with each other, so that should be fine, right? I will try to answer back later lah. So now this is almost close to 12:45. So I think this is the end of the lecture for today's session. Okay. And I would like you to, the final part is actually, please share your reflection of today's session activity. What is your reflection today? So can you please share it for a while before we ended this session? So what actually that have you learned? Things make you more confused ke, ataupun you started to see some light ke, tapi light tu macam kecil sikit ke, macam still macam tak nampak lagi apa benda ke that you are learning, or you start to see, okay, this makes sense, I know that at least I know how to go for the property table ke, how to calculate on something ke. So please share with me what actually that you have learned today. A lot of things that confuse you. That's good. You still have time to recover. Okay, still confused in calculation. Brain still loading, need to digest. Okay. Things are getting complicated. Need some light about usage of property table. Okay, that's all I will play the formula. Good at playing the formula. It's not only about playing the formula. I really need to advise you, kalau you setakat tahu plug in numbers dalam formula, it is not good enough lah, because you need to understand the things behind it. I know how to use property table and what for. I must start to do more revision to the subject. Okay, kind of blur in complicated calculation. Formula tu dia derive because of something, so you need to know what is that behind things, baru it makes sense to you. Kalau kita secara hafal, oh kalau ni pakai formula ni, kalau ini pakai formula ni, then still you have a problem later when you want to justify on something, because you have to know as I mentioned to you, kita dah berubah kepada continuous alternative assessment, so the question will be more open-ended. The question need more of thinking rather than just putting things into the formula. Okay, so understand using the formula is one thing, justification, the fundamental part of it is also important. Is it necessary to draw the graph? Many of you don't know which one. It's okay. I'm still wondering about calculation. Need more time to think and solve problems. Okay. What else? What else that you feel that you want to reflect for today's session? Calculation ialah something Calculation ialah something, tapi beyond than that is beyond the calculation tu, you also need to know the fundamentals. You need to know in the first place why is something like this. more reflection for today? And all that I can see, just a yellow lemon tree, and I wonder. Come on. Anything else? Ada 25 orang.
I wonder how, I wonder why. Yesterday you told me about the blue sky.
Come on. Ada 80 orang kat sini, 25 orang je baru respon. Yang lain mana? Hello. I hope that by today's session, it gives you some light about solving the assignments that I have given to you. Okay, that is the first thing. I do hope that you take your time lah. Maksudnya dalam masa seminggu ni, because there is a break, raya break, and you could do some kind of revision. And especially dalam PKP ni kan, kita tak banyak pun persiapan nak raya kan. So kalau yang tak boleh balik tu, minta maaf lah. But try to actually find times you need to do some kind of revision. Okay. So saya rasa setakat tu saja. Saya nak ucapkan terima kasih kepada semua for your focus so far lah. I don't know to what extent that you're focusing towards what you are learning for today. So we're going to continue again. I will have my last lecture with you on Monday, 17th of May 2021. Then after that, Dr. Anis Atika will take it over and she will teach you, continue to teach you. So saya nak ucapkanlah kepada pelajar-pelajar yang Muslim, selamat Hari Raya, maaf zahir dan batin, and kepada my non-Muslim students, happy holiday. But at the same time, please do, if you have time to revision, then do some kind of revision lah. Okay? Need to understand both. Alright, so that's all. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you So saya akan end the meeting. Thank you. Selamat Hari Raya semua. Maaf zahir batin.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Doctor. Selamat Hari Raya.
Selamat Hari Raya. Siapa yang tak isi attendance lagi, please do so
Thank you, Doctor. Selamat Hari Raya.
Selamat Hari Raya.
Thank you, Doctor. Selamat Hari Raya.
Thank you. Selamat Hari Raya as well.